All right, so welcome everyone. Good evening. Is everyone hearing me clearly now?
Yes, I mean, clearly.
All right, yeah, thanks, Celine. All right, Natasha says yes. Good. All right. Yeah, so welcome again, everyone. This is SEA's Maths Tutors workshop, right? So I'm really glad that you guys are here to find out discover some key insights, in terms of successfully how to do successfully in mathematics or excel academically in mathematics. Now, I know this is specifically for parents, but at least, for parents, and I know that you guys have kids, either sons or daughters, who are pursuing these examinations. So, this is at least not for them to take in, but at least key insights and information that at least for you to be able to pass on to your kids, and at least different methods and techniques that you will learn along the way when it comes to mathematics. A little gaps and tricks and all kind of stuff that you can implement within the subject, right? So thank you for being here. So I will be your host today. So Christian Vasquez. Let me just admit one person, right? So then again, welcome. Glad you're here. By the way, anyone has been to a math workshop before, and specifically online? Any show of hands, raise your hands here. It could be virtual, or if you could switch on your camera and raise your hand. And it's fun and interactive as well, guys. So I don't mind.
Yeah, I definitely haven't been to a workshop before, so you're my first experience right now.
All right, so yeah, thanks for the comment. All right, yes, probably a lot of persons have not necessarily heard of a mathematics workshop before, and it is something that exists. I would admit that, but it's something not very common. It's something that is quite rare, right, and not really pursued, right? But that is what I do. I pursue the things that are not pursuable by the most, and make a lot of value out of it, right? Because I know that it's beneficial to you all, right? So, reason here, how do you make this workshop a success, guys? Right? I have four key points and elements in terms of how you can make this workshop a success, right? Remember, we're not in person. Online, we're virtual, and it's specifically mathematics. Now, mathematics is a subject as well. Majority of students, probably 90 to 95% of students, may require that in-person um, tutoring or interactions with a teacher or a tutor, right? Because due to the rigidity of the subjects, maths, right? But how do you make this a success, guys? First thing, I want you guys to commit. I want you guys to commit to being here. I want you guys to commit to taking action, guys. Right? And how do you do that? I want you guys to be able to, just switch off all your distractions, switch off WhatsApp right now temporarily. That is, switch off Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, switch off everything, guys, and just be laser focused on this workshop. Right? You guys could do that for me. Just for like an hour and 30 minutes. Or probably a little more depending on the questions, right? So commit to take an action. Two, I want you guys to participate. Now, how do you participate, guys, if it's indeed an online workshop, right? So a huge sign for participation, at least for me, at least I uh, would like you guys, if indeed, if it's possible, that you guys can switch on your cameras. That's one way that you can participate. Two, that you can just, send any comments and all your questions and stuff on the chat, on the Zoom chat. So you can navigate to the Zoom chat and send your comments and questions there. And at least those are two main ways I can see participation, right? And even through the reactions as well that you can send through Zoom, right? The third thing, how do you make this workshop a success? I want you guys to be able to eliminate these two words from your vocabulary for this workshop. I know, right? So eliminate it, we're crossing it off, right? Why we're doing that? Right? So the reason we have to eliminate the words I know, because anytime we see the words I know in our mind, like let's say for example, you see something you see something new, you see something that is quite familiar to you, and you'll be like, well, you know what, I know this already. I don't need to be able to tackle or know address this. Anytime you say those words, there's a mental wall that goes up in your brain and in your head that prevents you and blocks, right, from actually attaining, right, and retaining new information. So that you're basically programming your mind subconsciously to be able to think and to move in that sort of pattern. So in moving forward, when it comes to absorbing new information, your brain would automatically reject it because you're always saying, I know, right? So in other words, guys, I want you guys to be very open-minded. Some information you may know already, some you may not, right? Or you may get a really different perspective on how to view things when it comes to mathematics, right? And the fourth and final thing to make this workshop a success is I want you guys to implement, right? I want you guys to take action, right? Guys, it's me, honestly, it doesn't make any sense that I mean, yes, this workshop is free, but technically it's not free, right? Because yes, even though it's not paid, it's actually costing you your time. It's costing my time as well, right? So it doesn't make sense that, yes, you attend a workshop, which is great. You get information, but information alone, guys, is not enough to create change. It's what you do with the information that you have received, right? And then you bring forth that positive change from that information, right? So I want you guys to implement what you guys learn from here today, right? So here's what we have on the agenda. So essentially, well, we have how do you make this a workshop a success. That's not really a statement. That is just, how to make this a success, really. First thing we will dive into is process, right? Process will set you free. Don't want to explain so much, but I'll run through the list. So we have common errors when it comes to mathematics, meaning common errors that students face, right, or encounter daily when it comes to mathematics. We have problem-solving strategies when it comes to mathematics. We have the three most powerful mathematical techniques, as how I coined it. And we also we'll be diving into collective wisdom. And we have the F word that students and parents hate. And trust me, it's not that swear word, right? But I can't give it out, right? We have a mathematical secret and a hack, right, in order to unlock or make mathematics easier. We'll be also diving into KSIs, meaning KSIs as key success indicators, meaning what do the top 1% of students do differently and how you can adopt those success indicators from now. We'll be talking about a gap analysis. I will get more into that at that segment. I actually, coined it hashtag the golden diamond because this is very valuable information that you guys are receiving for free, right? The mathematical paradox. We'll be touching on the most, the many, and the few. Bundle service package. What makes us unique, meaning SEAMathsTutor. Hashtag my why. This is personal to you, right? Meet the team. We'll have a website navigation, which is, a pretty new implementation to the workshop. And at the end, a Q&A, a short Q&A or long Q&A, depends on the questions and the end of the presentation / session, right? So let's get into it. If you all have any questions, though, you could just send it in the chat in the meantime, or you could keep your hands raised virtually on Zoom, and we'll address the questions after due to the Q&A, right? So at least the flow won't be disrupted. Right, guys? So process will set you free. Has anyone heard this phrase before, this statement? That, that to have a process set in place, that a process is very important in order to achieve success in whatever that you do. Has anyone heard that? No, not just when it comes to mathematics, generally across the board. Get a little unmute or a little something on the Zoom chat. Anyone heard about that? Process will set you free. Okay, I'll go ahead. Apolliana says no. All right, no problem. All right, so what does process will set you free? So mathematics, first to begin, it's a subject that is very rigid, a subject that requires analysis, it requires logic, it requires, structure, right? Due to the intensity of the subject and the general nature of it, of course, right? And not just for mathematics, but in everything that you do, you must have a process set in place to be able to succeed, right? Or in other words, process will set you free. Or to put it differently, if you don't have a process, things fail or it falls apart. Or I should say, if you don't have the right process set in place, you can't fail as well. And if you don't have a process at all, you also fail. So two ways. So how does process ties in into mathematics, right? So I guess we all would have seen this, but you wouldn't believe that a lot of students, and sometimes as adults, it crosses us, not mathematics, but students in particular really don't follow this process at all. They overlook it and they undervalue and they underestimate in terms of what it can add and benefit to them. So the first step in the process is to read a question. I put it maximum of 3 times to understand it, right? Because you have to be able to conceptualize a question, right? So when you're reading a question, you're really digesting the information. You're kind of saying, okay, so I'm taking this in, right? Eliminating the words I know from your mind, right? You're being open-minded. You're reading the question maximum of 3 times because the first time you read it, you read the question, you're going to read it probably fast and you're not going to digest everything. At least it depends, right? So maximum of 3 times you read the question, you try to conceptualize it, meaning you try to understand what the question is asking you to do, right? Second thing, you underline and/or circle your keywords, right? So what are keywords when it comes to mathematics? Keywords are essentially, well, what the question is specifically asking you to do, right? So that you won't stray off guard and that you won't diverge to your own path, right? You're really sticking to what the question wants, right? So that is what the keywords. So once you identify those keywords, circle or underline, right? So at least you will know that you would stick to it. The third thing is you develop a problem statement. Now, a problem statement is an alternative or a shortened or condensed question, right? So you have a question, let's say, for example, a worded problem, right? Worded problems are very common in maths. What you're going to do, you're going to break up that question into smaller chunks, right? And you're going to develop your own problem statement, so to say, right? The reason you're developing a problem statement is that certain questions, particularly when in mathematics, it's phrased in certain ways that it may be a little bit difficult to understand, right? And that's okay. And that's why we develop problem statements, so that we develop it so that we can understand in our own language, right? To be able to address the question. The fourth thing, we solve the question in pieces. A lot of times students, I was once a student, and I mean, I'm still a student. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a student of life, right? Because I have a lot more to go, a lot more to learn, but I'm a lifelong learner, right? You solve it in pieces. You don't try to solve the whole thing, right? You don't want to tackle the entire puzzle one time. You solve one piece at a time, and then you get closer to the actual solution, right? It actually makes things simpler. And the final thing is you work backwards to double check or even triple check. So when you solve the question actually in pieces or in parts, right? So once you address it in pieces, you solve the entire question, then you work backwards, right? So you reverse engineer that process, right? Essentially to see if you've gotten the answer from the very beginning. Now that's just a way to be able to really double check to see if you've indeed understood the question, which links to the first point, to the process, and to really see that, okay, you know what, I understand this, and it's indeed correct, right? So you see how important this process is, guys, and actually this process exists already, and these are, embedded all the time in past paper questions, but you won't believe that it's still not followed up to this day because persons overlook the importance and value of a process. So we jump into the common errors. So what are the common errors? At least common errors perceived by me. There are probably more, but probably didn't really make the list. Common errors in mathematics. One, not reading the question. I mean, that is probably the most Yeah, I should say the biggest error when it comes to mathematics. Persons just simply don't read the question. They just jump and they skip to be able to solve it. I mean, sometimes, yes, I guess the curiosity of us, it really, we're eager to find the solution to the problem. So I think that's why we often gravitate to jump in to solve the question. But it's important to read the question to understand what you're being asked to solve, right? And this is grapples with many students. A second common error is conceptual, right? So what conceptual error means, sometimes students move on to more advanced topics without fully understanding the foundational concepts, right? So conceptual, in other words, it's like, you need to be able to understand the basics. You need to understand the simple things in order to gravitate and move up to the higher level, meaning the advanced level, right? And not understanding the basics or the fundamentals, it will, and trust me, it's factual that it will make it difficult to understand the advanced level, right? So that's why that actually causes and creates chaos and confusion for students, right? Because conceptually, they don't understand the basics. Third error, it's careless errors. I mean, we're humans and, with humans, we're subjected to human error, right? It's a scientific term, but it's also a mathematical term as well. Human error. So students, they may know how to get the correct answers, which I have here, but they make a mistake due to carelessness, right? Because it's just a human error. I don't know if you guys know that, some students, they might look at a question, I would be like, yeah, I know how to get this, like conceptually in their head, right? And they may solve it mentally, right? But at least trying to write it down and the process of, solving the actual question per se, they might make a mistake, right? Maybe they may not have been fully focused, or it was just, in simple words, just careless, right? Not paying full attention. Another error is poor time management. This really stems for past paper questions, at least for students, and mock exams, anything, exam preparation. Anytime the students hear the words, an exam, they always think on a timely basis, right? They're just so nervous, they're so intense, right? And they're just filled with anxiety. Time management really is that essentially they don't get to finish their homework. They don't get to finish in-class practice. And if that continues, right, as a pattern, they won't even get to complete an entire past paper, right? And in other words, that can cost them marks, right? So poor time management is also a common error, and we would actually delve into a solution for that, right? Calculation errors. So, sometimes you're calculating, and yes, well, this is another human error as well, along with carelessness. We miscalculate at times, right? We misjudge based on, trying to solve something too fast or just not really taking our time. The final one is utilizing inaccurate formulae, I should have put, or techniques, right? So you're having a particular question, but you're using the wrong method or wrong formula to solve the question, in other words. So if you use the wrong formula for a different question that formula doesn't apply to automatically, that's wrong, right? And that's kind of linked to conceptual as well. So these are the common errors in mathematics. Everyone good? I know that was a mouthful there. Any raised hands thus far? Can anyone relate to this? Not as an adult, but at least for you guys as you guys kids, you guys children, have you been hearing these certain things like mommy and daddy? I have these, or grandma or grandpa, aunt, uncle, I have certain problems I'm battling or encountering with. Right, Natasha says that good, right? Nish said I can relate. Okay, right? So problem solving strategy solutions. So these are just some, general tips to be able to get better at problem solving in maths, right? One, we need to seek to understand to be understood. Well, we always start at there. This really ties into a conceptual based problem solving strategy, right? It's very basic, it's very fundamental, but how do you really seek to understand, Right? I think that would be the question for everyone. Seeking to understand means you're really being curious to deep dive into a question. You really want to, analyze and pull that question apart, or in other words, deconstruct that question and you want to make sense out of it, essentially, right? That is what seeking to understand means. And once you seek to understand things, you will be understood. And this is one thing, guys. Sometimes when persons, generally are fearful, and yeah, we all have different fears. But I know one thing, people fear things that they don't understand. And that's a big thing. And it's okay to fear things that you don't understand, but what are you going to do with that fear? Are you going to let that fear control you so that you won't pursue it in order to understand the thing that you're fearful of? Are you going to break that barrier of fear? The choice is up to you guys. A second thing, you can use diagrams and visual representations. Now, particularly me, at least for me, I could speak. I don't know about you guys could comment. I'm not really an artistic person. Of course, when growing up, at least for me, I was drawing and stuff. I was, okay. Wasn't all that, right? At least it's something I explored. But really trying to bring a creative mindset and a creative way and method to mathematics, even though that is, mathematics is not about a subject about creativity, it's more structure and rigidity. It really eases the pressure off of the subject. So if you use diagrams and visual representations, it makes it easier to solve problems. Third thing, we have pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is really dives into really observing certain things that you see are coming up repeatedly, right? So once you observe those patterns, then you move in alignment and accordance to those patterns to solve a question. That's what that means. You paraphrase the problem. Well, this ties into the development of statements. If there's a question or a problem that you don't really understand based on how it was phrased and how it was given to you in the first place, you paraphrase it. You be creative. I'm not saying actually going an exam on a past paper question or something. Well, a real exam that is, and change the question. But at least you don't want to change the exact question which was given to you, but at least if you're practicing it on your own, let's say for homework, or you're practicing for in-class practice, or you're just doing your own, your kids are doing their own past papers and you're there supervising them. If they don't understand something, they should paraphrase the problem, or you help them paraphrase it in a way they can understand. And that is where English actually ties in with mathematics, because persons think that English is not important when it comes to math, right? But sometimes how math problems are phrased, it makes it difficult. So to paraphrase it, having the English, it makes it easier. And finally, you devise a plan, right? In other words, you have a process, you have a plan in place, but that plan will be different for every question, right? It won't be the same, right? So devising the right plan that is appropriate for the right question, right? So that's our strategy there. Yes, I can relate to Pollyanna. All right, so this was from earlier. Okay, good. Yeah. All right, thanks for the comments, guys. So we get into the three most powerful mathematical techniques, right? I also call it the three wise men modern day approach for maths, right? So you can see like there's the Venn diagram there, and they're all intersecting there. And you can see as a set, well, a subset, right? Which is then again diagrams. So this is, a diagram specifically for sets, a topic in mathematics. So you can see it actually looks like the club. I don't know if you guys have like playing cards. It look like the club sign, right? The suit, right? So where do we begin here? So the technique starts at 1. Well, we have addressed it already, but we learn to understand the concepts, right? I know this has probably came up probably 3 to 4 times now, but at least majority of students, we underestimate or we overlook the importance of understanding the concepts. And that's really important. You really have to go back to the fundamentals and to square one in order to propel going to advance, right? And the second thing, the second technique, we have a process or a strategy in place, right? So the process and the strategy, well, we spoke about process will set you free, right? And that process we spoke about earlier, the first slide, that is just like a general process, a general approach. But what I'm speaking about here in a context, it's more about a specific strategy and a specific process based on the question that you're addressing, right? So let's say, for example, you have a problem based on fractions. So you're trying to add, let's say you're trying to add fractions, right? So you're not going to use a process or a strategy that involves or includes decimals or percentages, even though fractions, yes, can be converted to those different types, right? But you're not going to use something from decimals, percentages to apply to a factor and addition of fractions process or multiplication or division of fractions process, right? The strategy will be different. So you need to have a different strategy that is appropriate for the right question, right? And the final thing, final technique is you need to be able to master problem solving. I would say that the core and number one skill that you need to be able to have, and even if you have it naturally, that is excellent, that is great. At least that is an advantage that you have, or a tool, I should say, in your arsenal to do well, and you need to continue sharpening it. Or if you know problem solving skills is not all that, that's okay. That's not something that is fixed. It's something that can be improved, right? You need to be able to master problem solving, right? Because that's the number one core skill when it comes to mathematics, right? Problem solving is linked to being analytical and logical, and not just maths, but generally across the board in all things. So we delve into something called the collective wisdom. Well, as at least why I want to call this slide, the investment in education gives the greatest rewards. I know it's reading off of this slide, but at least these are certain things that I've, through the years, at least growing up for me, at a bit personal, like at least based on the family that I grew up in, education for me was, very important. At least, that is something that, my parents and my grandparents, they really instilled that in me, and my aunt, of course. That is something they pushed me towards, right? And you need to be able to educate yourself, guys, because no one is going to do it for you. And that is really powerful. The only thing they can probably tell you is that they may encourage you to go and educate yourself, but no one's literally going to do that for you. You have to do it. So it's a conscious decision you're making. And second thing, being educated matters, right? It does matter, right? Because there are persons, well, sorry to say, that there are both good and bad ways in terms of how to utilize education. If anyone ever thought of it, that's why I linked it to collective wisdom. So being educated matters, guys, but it's how you utilize the knowledge that you have gained, because it can be utilized for both good and bad intentions. The good intentions is that, you utilize the knowledge and, let's say you pass the exam, right? Or you've gotten that job, just stating examples. And you're probably helping someone to do the same thing in return, right? So what you have done, you're helping someone in return afterwards, because you see that they have the potential or they have the discipline, so you're helping them out. And the bad intention is essentially, well, because you are educated, this is generally, of course, not thinking at anybody. You may try to persons literally do this. They try to manipulate others who may not be that educated in a particular field, right? So you can see the good and the bad there of the collection and gathering of knowledge, right? So that's how it's utilized. So being educated matters. And final thing, education takes you places. Well, education means your knowledge, it takes you places, but the application, right, of the education is important, meaning the wisdom, right? So the knowledge and the wisdom goes hand in hand. Yes, you need to get the education, and not just maths, it's collective wisdom across the board. You need to be able to get it, right? Because you need to be skilled in whatever you want to do in future, right? But you need to apply, right? You need to, be wise and apply certain things, right? So it needs to be both theoretical and practical. That's what I have here, right? Second part of collective wisdom, students need to autograph their work with excellence, right? Students need to be mentally decisive on what they want intentionally and intensely, right? It's like being in a relationship. I don't know for those who are in a relationship here, but again, in anyone's personal business or anything, but think of it like a relationship, guys. You want to be intentional and you want to, approach that relationship with intensity. And I don't mean bad or a negative, toxic intensity. I mean, you want to be intense about it. You want to see that it's taking you somewhere in your future that is mutually beneficial, right? In other words, to put it, right? So you need to be mentally decisive, right, about it. And second thing, you need to adhere to the requirements and implement what works for the subject only, right? Sometimes, we may be trying out certain things and we may be saying, well, how am I not getting the results that I want? Well, what if that you're probably, you're doing something, yes, but it's not doing the right thing that is appropriate for the subject or appropriate for a topic or for a question, right? So you need to be able to working both hard and smart matters. And final thing, students need to learn how to love the subject and, don't hate it, right? You need to have a good relationship with it. And not just students, but adults as well. There are a lot of adults that, and it's okay, but it's based on how they have grew up to know mathematics as, right? They need to have a good relationship with it and treat it as an art to be cherished. Once it's viewed in that way, mathematics will become so beloved that persons will really and indeed want to do better at it. And let's see a comment that's coming up here. The third one is a challenge. Ramsrup said, okay, that's a challenge. Yes, it is indeed a challenge. I know that's something I need to work on. All right. Okay, so we get into the F word that students and parents hate. I jumped the gun there because I wanted to really ask you guys that and to hear some feedback. Yeah, but no, it's not the swear word. It's failure, guys. Anyone hate the word failure? And not just hate the word failure, but you literally hate failure. Look, my hand going straight up. Well, I can't see my hand, but I hate failure. I laugh at it because, I mean, it's true, but you know what? You had to laugh at yourselves sometimes. I literally hate failure, right? I don't ever like to fail, right? Yes, no one's like to fail. Yeah, true. Tash says true. Yes. Yeah, no one likes to fail, guys. But students hate it, parents hate it. But we talk about at least a mathematical context, but generally across the board, no one likes to fail. But question, guys, why do students fail mathematics? Anyone ever thought of that? Could unmute or put something on the Zoom chat. Why do students fail math? Well, yeah, it says lack of confidence. Yeah. Yeah, lack of confidence is a big one in terms of why students fail math. Anyone else? Salim, I see Uma is here. Hi, Uma. Tash. Anish. Why do students fail math? But yeah, lack of confidence is a big one. Many different reasons. Tash, yeah. Uma says they don't like the subject. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And yeah, we talk about, not liking the subject earlier and to have a good relationship with it, right? You said lack of understanding. Good. Yeah. Right. That was something that was repeated 4 times as well, right? So lack of understanding is a big one as well. Right, guys. So you guys are all correct. And the thing is, guys, with failure, even though that I hate failure. So this is also a lesson for me, not just for you guys as well and for your kids, but also for me as well. Speaking to me here too. It's okay to fail, right? It's normal, right? Failing is not the equivalent to you being a failure. Even though that has been taught to, you guys as adults now, growing up in school or even your your kids who are currently in school, and they probably are being taught that, once you fail math, specifically math, I don't know what it is. I don't know why, it's because I know math is so popular, but specifically at math, you mightn't really get it so with so much intensity for any other subject, but specifically for maths. They might equate to you feeling math as you being a failure, right? But the thing is, you need to fail in order to reach success. But you have to learn from your mistakes and aim not to repeat them in the future, right? So, and also a stick up in there, you need to be careful, right? Because repeated failure will affect your future, as you may not have learned the lesson previously, because you may not have taken it on seriously, right? So just to stick up in there. So in other words, nothing is wrong with failing, but you should fail forward, right? 'Cause I know some point in our lives we have messed up a lot, and we're gonna mess up in future. But the thing is, we need to learn from it and not aim to repeat it. And you need to ask yourself, what am I going to do to change things? And this is for you as parents, and for your kids, right? For the students, right? Because it's the F word that students and parents hate, right? So this affects both parties here. And probably it affects teachers as well. But this is about you, right? What am I going to do to change things as a parent? What are you going to do as a parent to help, change your child's mind in a positive way, to be able to, help them across the board so that they can turn that failure to success, right? Or what is that child or that student is going to do? What initiative are they are going to pursue in order to say, you know what, I don't want to fail math anymore. Or this is the last time that I'm failing math. I'm gonna promise myself I'm not gonna fail math ever again in my life. I know that's a really big promise, but yeah, it's possible, right? And normally, guys, the fear of failure of mathematics is associated with the hatred of the subject, right? Because it is commonly perceived as difficult to understand and master. Yeah, I know Irma mentioned that as well. Maths is not really a beloved subject, by a lot of students and some parents as well. We can't say all, right? But yeah, it's associated with fear of failure is, ties in with the hatred towards the subject, right? Due to its nature. Right. So we get into the math secret and we get into the hack guides. So we're going good for time. So we have this, you see guys, the blocks here. So we have maths here. So we have MATHS. So I call it, guys, the mental ability to handle situations, right? So this is the math secret and hack. Now, guys, I'm not a parent, I'm just saying this, but it's just a hack that I discovered when it comes to maths, and it works. So one, I observed that yelling never works. So when a child fails math, guys, address the situation and not the child, right? Because then again, it brings that nature of failure to the child more, and they will tend to dwell on it. I'm not telling you how to parent your kids, right? But I just stating for the sake of them and for the sake of they succeeding academically in mathematics, if they do fail, well, not if, but when, because it happens, address the situation and not the child. At least for me, I prefer corporate punishment than yelling. I will quicker do that. Yeah, because those words are gonna last. Trust me. And second thing, if you're a soft-spoken person, meaning if you are an individual, a parent, an adult, grandparent, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, right? You're a soft-spoken individual, meaning you don't really yell a lot, right? Generally, that's what that means. So you instructed your child to study math and they didn't listen to you, right? So you're gonna think, okay, so they didn't listen to me. I need to be able to yell at them in order to get them to listen. Well, no. Here's what to do. Show them the bigger picture in life and the importance of mathematics, and seek to reward your child once they do listen to you. And if they don't listen, don't yell, let them fail. I know that probably sounds harsh, but let them fail. Let them fail, and they eventually come back to you and they'll be like, Mom, Dad, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, should I really listen to them? And then, you would essentially win as a parent in the end, right? So this is if you're soft-spoken. Don't waste your time and energy on yelling. Right? Yes, you need to pick and choose your battles wisely. Natasha said agreed. Yeah. All right, so we get into the KSIs, guys. All right, so the KSIs, I know this is a long list, and I know this is on a PowerPoint slide. Not supposed to have so many text, but I wanted to put everything here for you, and I tried my best to fit it. So the KSIs, as we spoke about earlier, is the key success indicators. What do the top 1% of students do differently, right? So I want you to look at this, guys. Are you, if you're not living this, guys, if you're not living this as parents, at least try to implement the change from now. If your kids are not living this, implement these things from now. One, you set SMART goals. Well, I believe everyone knows the acronym for SMART, guys. For SMART goals, we know SMART stands for the specific, S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable or attainable, R for realistic, and then T for time-based or time-bound, right? Set SMART goals, guys, right? Two, we seek to understand the fundamentals and basics first. Probably then again, we heard it probably 5 or 6 times already in the workshop, right? But it's always overlooked and underestimated, right? The 1% of students do these things, guys. They practice this. Third thing, guys, this is probably a heavy hitter. You need to differentiate between teaching versus indoctrination, right? There's a difference between teaching and indoctrination, right? And what does that mean? Students need to be taught how to think, but not what to think, right? They need to unlearn the things that does not work and is not bringing them the results that they want to make them be successful in mathematics, right? And indoctrination is like, you're basically telling a class, or it could be as parents, it could be as teachers, it doesn't matter, the party, right? Indoctrination is, saying you should do it this way, you should do it. Now, I'm not saying don't parent, I'm not saying don't teach, but saying it a particular way that you need to go this particular route. You're really kind of giving them a little too much. Teaching is like, I give you a little 10%, right? And then I go up again, I go a little 20, go a little 25 or 30. Right? You're teaching them how to think. So at least they can eventually figure it out, right? And you can't help them, yes, along the way to do it, right? But you don't want to really do the entire thing. You don't want to indoctrinate them with something. Fourth thing, students need to be eager to learn and to have fun while doing so, right? Guys, does it make sense that mathematics is already a rigid subject? You can imagine approaching mathematics with a rigid mentality. Now, I understand. The reason why mathematics is approached in that way is that, the professors, lecturers they are so accustomed and they are tuned in that way based on the nature of the subject, and they are generally like that. And yeah, I at least by nature, a little more, logical on the analytical side as well. But I believe that if you put those two together, it won't be a good combination, right? It won't be something that the students would look forward to or anticipate, right? Their interest will be lost very quickly, right? Fifth thing, well, develop a process and a strategy to establish a structure in their work. Well, we spoke about that. Time blocking and spaced repetition. So what is, time block? Well, I'll explain what time blocking is. So time blocking is like, let's say, for example, I don't know if anyone use like Google Calendar here, or probably Microsoft Outlook, the calendar. So time blocking is like that. I use Google Calendar a lot and Microsoft Calendar. So I go up on my Google Calendar, my Microsoft Calendar, and I time block certain tasks, right? So let's say I need to get up at this time, and I need to have breakfast. I need to be able to shower. I need to be able to, go and do this particular chore and this errand by this particular time. Let's say it's 7 right now. I need to do all those things in 2 hours time, right? So I time block that from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then I do that repeatedly, space repetition for a different task. The same way math can be approached as well. Another thing, students can learn how to document the things that they learn and explain it to someone, or they can teach it to themselves, right? But this really ties in with efficient and effective note taking, right? What does that mean? It's when students are learning mathematics and they have their notes. Sometimes having poor notes can lead to a lot of errors as well. So they need to have very strong notes, right? Notes that are legible and notes that they can understand, and that in the end, in future, that they can teach themselves or that they can teach someone else, right? They can use flashcards or study cards. The importance of flashcards and study cards, persons say that doesn't work. And trust me here, this is a pile and a pool of different things. Everything here is not going to work for everybody, right? I'll mention that from now. You need to be able to find what best works for your child, works for the student, right? And then they need to put into action. So the utilization of study cards or flashcards is more for summarization, right? It's just to put small points, right, on a flashcard, right, and memorize it. Another thing, you can ask the right questions and seek help, right? Which is kind of like what you guys are doing. You guys are kind of seeking help in a way, through me, right, in this workshop, right? So you can seek help, or as a parent, you guys are doing that, and as a student, seeks help from a teacher, a tutor, or even a study group, right? Having a study group with their friends, right? Because they have that thing in common. Let's say 5 friends, they are setting this goal and they want to study mathematics. They are all lost at a particular area in a topic, and they want to be able to master it. They have that thing in common. So that's a common goal between the 5 persons, right? So it's a group, it's a network with like-minded individuals. Another thing, students need to practice discipline to increase intrinsic motivation, right? Discipline is very important, guys, right? No one's gonna discipline you, right? But I know one thing, probably life will discipline you if you're not disciplined, right? But you need intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation means that really comes from within. It comes from within you. So you don't need to be extrinsically motivated, meaning you don't need a video to motivate you. And sometimes we do, right? I'm not saying, right? But at least on a pattern based wise, I'm talking about. You don't need a video to motivate. You don't need someone to motivate you all the time to spur you into action, right? You can be intrinsically motivated in your heart and in your mind to do something, right? So meaning you're having the right mindset and attitude. Well, this one is, can't say not enough, right? Hard work and sacrifice. You need to, implement smart and hard work, right? Because persons talk about working smart versus working hard, right? And persons choose typically more smart work over hard work right now, but I believe that you need to balance of the both. Both smart and hard work is important. Another thing, this is a key one here, guys. Identify your learning style through a personality test or by any other means, right? Could be psychometric as well, but particularly a personality test, right? And finally, is to practice the right questions using the right techniques consistently until you can't get it wrong, right? So these are ultimately, guys, what the top 1% of students do differently. And, it's a huge pile, it's a huge pool and list of many things. But you could see that these things is anyone can do these things, right? So what differentiates the top 1% of students from all the other students is because they do these things. They find what works best for them out of this list, and probably a bigger list, and they utilize it and it works. Right? So anyone can do this, guys. So we get into a big segment here. We're gonna talk about the gap analysis. And guys, if one thing you guys need to pay attention about this part, right? Definitely, right? I see comments coming in the chat. I'll look at them after, right? This gap analysis, hashtag the golden diamond, Guys, this is also the golden ticket. Remember, like Charlie and the chocolate factory, the golden ticket that he had? Yeah, this is like that. I'm telling you. Right? I know you guys see in the on the side here why traditional teaching doesn't work anymore. Now, I should put a disclaimer. I hope that there's no teachers also here. This is not to bash you generally. But this is just to say through the explanation that you will understand why certain things don't work. And you guys can see the little gold dust coming down on the diamond. Yeah, right? So first thing, the gap analysis, meaning this is what I personally have observed, right, when it comes to at least educational system-wise, when it comes to mathematics. Well, I'll speak about it in a mathematical context, but it goes across the board. One, students don't complete the entire syllabus within the time, right, in school, and they get into past paper questions too early when they are not prepared. That's one thing that happens. You guys could probably list your comments afterwards. I don't know if you guys, as parents, experience this with your kids, but this is a common thing, right? I observe this, guys, right? So the entire syllabus, you have probably 15 to 20 things to cover. You probably cover 10 or 10 out of the 15 or 15 out of the 20, right? And then they get into past paper questions very soon and they're not prepared, right? So if you're not prepared, you're anxious, you're not confident. That means you may not have the concrete conceptual understanding of certain things. So it links to certain problems, underlying problems, or root cause. Second thing, students do complete the entire syllabus within time, right? But they get into past paper questions very late, which also happens, meaning very late in the context of closer to an examination period, right? It can, let's say for a mock exam, but that may not be the best example, but for a real exam, right? And don't think about it as maths here, even though it's maths. Think about it as a general exam, right? You imagine you finish an entire course module or a syllabus of 10 or 15 things, right? And then you get into past papers or let's say an exam very late, that's closer to the exam period. It can cause anxiety, guys. That's another thing I observe. A third thing, guys, in the gap analysis is every student is addressed the same way when it comes to mathematics. And it's following a traditional educational system, right? So I'm not saying anything here to bash any system here. I'm just saying this is observation, right? But if you approach a subject in one way, like thinking about it logically, if you approach a subject one way to many students, to millions of students, let's say probably, 1, 2, 3 billion students, I just saying, just going up at a number. You really think that that every student is going to grasp mathematics in that one way that you teach the subject? No, right? Logically, if you think about it, right? So mathematics needs to approach in a different way to accommodate the needs of that particular student, right? So in other words, mathematics is being taught the wrong way. Well, I wouldn't say the wrong way across the board, but it's being taught the wrong way to not suit the audience, I should say, or the right audience, right? Fourth thing in the gap analysis is mathematics is treated as a subject to pass in the short term, but it's not taught as a skill to master and sharpen for the long term, right? In other words, it's really taught like, you know what, do well, study now for maths so that you can pass the subject. But afterwards, it's kind of like you did all this too. I heard students, and even in my group in school as well too, it's like, we did all this for what? Like literally, right? What are we using it for? What are we applying it for? Right? You see it's coming across and like you need to be able to do well in maths and that's it. Full stop. There's nothing there afterwards, right? But it needs to be taught as a skill, right? That in order to have as an asset for your life, right? In the long term, right? You need mathematics is in our daily lives that exists, whether in our jobs, when we are dealing with finances, financial management, right? These things are not being taught literally. So, students would just study maths temporarily And plus they may hate the subject, right? They pass it or they may not pass it, they fail and they try it again. And they'll be like, I did all this for nothing. What a waste of time. No, it's important moving forward, but it's just not being recognized. And then the final thing in the gap analysis, we addressed it a bit, is indoctrination versus teaching, right? So students are being taught what to think versus how to think, right? So there needs to be a mental shift, right, in the system as well, right, for students to be able to approach it differently. So this is the reason, guys, why traditional teaching doesn't work anymore. Right? Let me look at the comments. Tash says, yes, correct is universal. Yeah, right? Cool. Yeah, Tash. So we get into the mathematical paradox, right? Anyone knows what a paradox is? Anyone? Just give me a little second. Anyone can put it in the comments of what is a paradox? No? All right, guys. So yeah, well, a paradox is essentially you're having at least two things that exist, right? Which it could be either something that is true and something that is false that exist simultaneously, right? And they're both, even though one is true and one is false, they can be scientifically proven, right, as true, right? Because they both exist. That is at least simplest form what a paradox is, right? So what is a mathematical paradox, right? So let's get into it. Well, mathematics, so there are some students who believe that, let's put it across in this way. Mathematics is really easy for me. Some students say that. Some students, and then the other group says, well, mathematics is not that easy for me. Mathematics is hard, it's difficult. I don't like it. The next group says, maths is easy for me, I love it. Right? What do you think that is, guys? That's the mathematical paradox in play. Right? So math is not generally hard for all students because that means it would not have been simple for some students. And then the other part is also true. Math is not simple generally for all students because it means it would not be challenging for the other half or the other some. So there's a double truth and a standard exists here. Well, the paradox. So the student who says that both math is hard and math is simple, they are both correct. It's a subjective truth that is based on their belief and their current ability. That is the mathematical paradox. And the ultimate truth here, guys, not gonna sugarcoat it. Some students, right, they are naturally talented and they're gifted and they have a predisposition in mathematics, right? That's just the truth. That's one truth. The next truth is that some students, they are really naturally talented and gifted in other areas. But I should have put that, but math may not be their strongest point. But is the good news? That is okay. Because all they need to do is to work hard, to work smart, and study and develop their mathematical abilities. Right? And what your job, guys, as parents, and even as students as well, too. Students should be able to do this, at least learn to do it on their own as well. What your job is to figure out at least what category are they in the mathematical paradox. Are they predispositioned and naturally talented and gifted in mathematics? So let's say math is their strong point and something else may be their weak point. Well, you work with that. That's an advantage there already. You work with that and strengthen that skill. Or are they, they're not predispositioned in mathematics. They're probably higher on the creative side, just Satan. Something more artistic and not really at mathematics. It's not their strong point. Well, that's also okay too, right? Because you can get better at something through working hard and smart I mean, it's gonna take sacrifice and intensifying study. But the thing is, it's not something that is fixed. So if you're saying that mathematics is not my strongest, it doesn't make sense. Oh, it doesn't make sense. It can't, it does make sense. You just need to be able to work hard for it, right? So your job is to figure out where you as your kids, where do they stand in the mathematical paradox? And you work from there. And students as well should be able to do this on their own as well. Did anyone, they go to this segment here, as a short segment. Anyone know these persons here on the screen? These four guys. They have something in common, by the way, all four of them.
Yeah, Einstein, Elon Musk. Can you show you next to them?
All right, so Liam said Einstein, Elon Musk, and okay, right here, that's two out of the four. Good one. So Liam, Apollina says scientists, right? Well, yeah, there's a scientist there as well. Tash said disabilities. Yeah, well, actually, I think probably two of them had disabilities as well. Mid geniuses, yeah, right? But the point here, guys, is that it's really linked to the mathematical paradox. I'm not here to give you a biography of all these four guys, but I'll tell you this. One, far left here on my side, Albert Einstein, right? He's a genius guy. He was a theoretical physicist, right? He could not have spoken well, and he had a huge stutter. So meaning, language processing of verbal language and English. I know he grew up actually in Germany as well. So probably his German as well was also weak. So he could not have spoken properly, right? So he had that basically that stuttering, I wouldn't say a disability, right? But he broke out of it eventually. But he had that up until his teenage years, guys. So you can imagine that he was, 1 year going up in probably to 11, 12, and then he had 11 to 12 years in order to start to speak properly, right? But guys, look what Albert Einstein did. This guy's a genius. He's a theoretical physicist, guys. And a physicist, right, they also, they study physics in the theoretical side of things, right, and not the application of it. But for physics, you need a lot of mathematics, intense and advanced mathematics. And so I'm talking about like calculus, that type of level, right? So this guy was a genius, but look where he came from, right? Poor background, he did, right? He was at one time a refugee as well, right? And he could not have spoken well, probably to 11 to 12 years. But look what he did. Now we move to the next guy, Sir Isaac Newton. Probably one of my greatest. Probably a bit biased here because I mean he was born on the 4th of January and I'm the 2nd of January, so really close, right? That's 2 days off, right? But this guy, he had everything going, right? This guy he immersed himself in solitude, meaning he lived his entire life just really being alone. So immersed in his work that this guy was a mathematician, right? A physicist, an astronomer, an alchemist, a theologian. I know these maybe sound like very huge terminologies here, but this guy, in other words, to break it down, he had a passion for mathematics. And then, well, in the physics side of things, right? He did study that. Came up with Newton's three laws. I think everyone probably had heard about that. Newton's three laws of motion. Yeah, he's the originator of it, right? He lived in solitude and immersed himself in his work, that he developed that love and that passion for mathematics. He also invented a type of calculus as well, Sir Isaac Newton. Then we go into the next guy, Elon Musk. A little bit similar to, Albert Einstein in the way of, well, at least we probably, he's in the 21st century now. And I don't know if anyone has watched any interviews or, heard any podcasts or listened to podcasts with Elon Musk, but, he has this type of delay in his speech and a kind of stutter as well. Now, I'm not making fun of that. I'm just stating that, look, these four different men, have 4 different abilities, and they came from 4 very different backgrounds. But they all 4 have this commonality that they are very strong in mathematics. And some wasn't even strong at first, right? Some of them had to work hard to get there, right? Elon Musk's case, well, he is the owner of SpaceX and of Tesla as well, and now former Twitter, now known as X, right? I know it's a lot of information, but he's really a mechanical engineer by heart, right? But engineers need to know a lot of mathematics, right? And he was the drive, the engine to push everything and propel things forward, right? For his team, right? For his various teams, because he, has various different companies. That's what he did. And look at this guy. I probably, no one that hasn't really heard of this guy, but this guy name is Terence Tao, right? So this guy is well, he's a mathematician by heart, but he's Australian, but he has Chinese roots, right? So he has Chinese roots. He has born in Australia, right? And he also teaches in the United States. Well, he teaches in the US and also in Australia where he lives, but with Chinese roots, right? Terence Tao is probably one of the brilliant minds of the 21st century, in addition to Elon Musk himself, right? For him, I think he was, naturally predispositioned in maths. At least for Albert Einstein, he had to work his way up a bit. Sir Isaac Newton, predispositioned in some, I don't know what specifically, other things he had to work for. And Elon Musk, yeah, he was predispositioned as well. So the point is, guys, is that anyone can achieve greatness. Look at the backgrounds of 4 guys. Let this serve as inspiration. Let this serve as inspiration to you as parents, as adults, as individuals. Let it serve as inspiration to your kids. Even if it's not something to, you don't want to really look up to them, but look and really admire what they did at their work. Look at the legacy Albert Einstein had and Sir Isaac Newton. And look what Elon Musk is doing. And Terence Tao is not spoken a lot of, which I find he should have. He should be spoken a lot of. But look what these guys, 2 of them have done. And look what two of some of the guys, what they're currently doing. Anyone can achieve greatness, guys. So now we get into our next segment, what makes us different and unique, right? So about SEAMathsTutor, guys, there are certain things that stand out to particular people, right? Or there are certain things that make something stand out from the crowd. At least what I do, I have different things. I do things differently, I should say, right? But I do things differently for a purpose and for a reason, right? Everyone does. So for SEAMathsTutor, what makes us different and unique, guys? Students can avoid the dreaded commute and they can enjoy classes within the comfort and convenience of their own home. And guys, that is buying back your time. You guys as parents don't have to sit in traffic, to be able to, bring at least one student, but your child, son or daughter, to a class. You could just have it online, like we're having a workshop here online, right? I hope you guys treating it as an in-person event. I'm treating it as an in-person event, right? Because I'm connecting with you guys, but this is how classes are going to be, guys, right? You're buying back your time, you're saving your time. 2, personalized learning or tailored teaching, right? So my class environments are tailored and designed to address the needs of the student and the weak areas first, right? Now you might ask the follow-up question, well, how do I do that? Good thing. I conduct personality tests to determine how best a student learns, right? Because I want to identify their unique learning style so that I can tailor and personalize the teaching to that personality style of the student. 3rd thing, I have consultation calls and an academic assessment. Well, at least probably some of you guys have come through the consultation calls. As I have one-on-one 30-minute Zoom calls, just to have a conversation to address your needs as a parent and address the needs of your child, whether son or daughter. 4th thing, I have the mathematics workshop. Well, you guys are here at the workshop already, right? So it's an informative learning session, so where you can receive the key insights on how to academically succeed in maths. What else? We have in-depth training. What does it mean by in-depth training? I pass paper questions. I do end-of-month quizzes. I have in-class practice. I also give homework, and all are conducted in addition to challenges. Well, I also have like math challenges. Maybe it's kind of like surprise pop quizzes, but they're kind of in a category by itself, a bit special. And I also have mental games and different things. I didn't want to put that on the board here. Another thing, I have office hour sessions, guys. Office hour session, this has been a new implementation, but this is essentially one-on-one sessions with the student apart from class. Now, this is something that is not really, it's not a structured thing. It's not at the beginning of a teaching cohort. I have it really closer to the end of the cohort, right? Because I know this takes up a lot of time, just the classes in of itself, right? So that then it has it in brackets, but it's closer to the end of the teaching cohort, providing if a student requests it of me, or you as a parent request it of me, right? What we have accessibility. What does that mean? You have repeated access to the course materials through lecture notes, right? So at the end of classes, I personally document lecture notes, meaning whatever that has been covered in class, I put it in a document and you receive it as a parent to send it to your child so that they can study and review it on their own, right? Sessions are also recorded. This session is also being recorded, so classes will be the same, right? These sessions are not sent though. I just record it and I might snip it up so I could send pieces because the files would be too large, right? But the entire recording may be sent depending on emergency cases. Well, the resources are easily accessible and utilization of technology, because I'm using technology right now, right, to be able to deliver a mathematics workshop for you. So think about classes. I'll be using different sort of technology to bring across class material, right? I also have something called KPI metric scoring. What does that mean? It means monitoring and taking notes of a student's performance and progress. So let's say if a student comes in where we are in the month of May, let's say they join June 1st, right? So June 1st to July 1st, August 1st, that's 1 month, 2 months. So if you join by June 1st, sorry, by July 1st, 30 days time, what was the percentage in which that student has improved or increased in their work in mathematics? That's what a KPI metric score does, right? I monitor that and I do it on either a weekly basis or monthly basis, but it depends on your needs as a parent on what you would want me. Right? It's your preference on that, right? I instill and enforce values, motivation and discipline, right? I'm not a psychologist, so I'll tell you that, right, to begin with. But I believe that, students need discipline as well, that matters, and the instilling of confidence and motivation as well too, because, maths is already rigid. So I understand that a lot of students, they have that lack of confidence and probably low self-esteem when it comes to maths, right? Another thing, I have small classes. So these classes are really small so that each student receives an equal amount of time and attention. So it can be evenly distributed, right? To be able to engage the students and capture their attention for longer periods of time, right? Because we're going to be on a screen, so it can be distracting, right? But it depends on the classes being small, and it depends on the engagement, getting students to ask questions, and the delivery of the content as well, in order to keep them engaged, right? So it's a maximum of 6 if you wanted to do the number. And final thing, learning is made fun and enjoyable. Yeah, like, I don't know if probably, I probably one person can attest to this, probably Uma. Yeah, she can attest to this of, at least
Yes,
I would,
of
if I have permission for her grandson. Yeah, like I do games with my students, guys. Like, I know it might sound crazy. I do online games and stuff with them, right? You think students are gonna really, want to literally do maths all the time? Yes, I'll teach them the maths, but I do games and stuff with them, guys. Mental games, of course. Just to keep them engage and to unwind a bit from the maths and then go back to it. Yeah, so this is learning made fun and enjoyable, guys, right? So I have a question for you guys. If you could have a personal mathematics tutor for any task, right, and for any reason, what would it be and why, right? Everybody needs to answer this question, guys. I think this question is mandatory because I need to be able to understand it. This is your hashtag #MyWhy. So you guys can feel free to unmute and you guys can say hashtag #MyWhy is whatever. Or if you're putting it on the Zoom chat, hashtag #MyWhy is XYZ. If you could have a personal mathematics tutor, guys, for any task and any reason, what would it be and why? That's two questions, essentially. You guys can feel free to unmute or send it on the chat.
Okay, well, in my case, I does cash a lot throughout the day, me and my business. So it'll be real nice to have a math tutor on the fan side, so I can calculate the big orders instead of got my phone and calculate every minute. So that's I one reason, and task.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks much, Salimia, for the comment. All right, cool. Right, so yeah, the hashtag, that's your why, right? So you're making it personal to you, right? That's good, that's awesome. Anyone, Apollina, Natash, do I pronounce it correct? Is it Niche? That's why I call you Miss Round Superstar. Uma, what is your guys' hashtag #MyWhy? You can feel free to unmute or put it in the chat.
Basically, you just before my son, where he is right now.
Okay. All right, thanks much for your comment.
Hi, Kristen.
Hey,
Well,
Gavin.
my answer is not a fresh answer because you'd have probably heard it before.
That's okay.
The support for my son in his growth and development in mathematics would be my why right now, to get him more confident so that he'll be able to answer his questions confidently, to be able to efficiently and effectively do his work. That is.
All right, cool. Thanks much, Gavin, for your comment. Yeah, guys. All right, Apollina, hashtag #MyWhy. All right, I'll just read it out, right? So I know it's in the comment. Hashtag #MyWhy will be for me to better understand math so I can have a more vivid idea on how to break down it to my own kids. Yep, that's a good #MyWhy too, Pollyanna, right? So yeah, so you have your #MyWhy. And yes, sometimes it's guys, it's sometimes as parents too is to, understand the difference. Sometimes we've taught different things or how to approach math. Sometimes it's on learning the old things and approaching new methods and techniques that do currently work, right? And that brings forth results. And sometimes it's you learning it so that you can help your kids as well, right? Sometimes yes, having a teacher or tutor, yeah, right? That's good, but sometimes that teacher and tutor is not gonna be home with the student the entire time, right? So that's a good hashtag #MyWhy, Napoleon. I think everyone answered that question. And so you guys have some strong #MyWhys, and that's really good. So we get into meet the team, and you see, well, that's a picture of me. You guys seeing me, and probably same jersey as well too. Yeah, so cool, right? So meet the team, guys. So you're probably thinking, well, who's the team you would be dealing with when it comes to having your kids, your children, at least in my classes, and even as parents, addressing certain concerns or just general questions to a person. Well, yeah, in other words, to put it, I wear many hats, guys. So I do different things, right? One, so I'm an educational consultant in a mathematical context, right? So you guys, when you guys have the consultation calls with me, I address that whether on Zoom or whether on WhatsApp. If you just probably send a normal text message or something, I give you consultation, right, on that. I'm also the head tutor, right? So yes, your kids or children, sons or daughters would be directly interacting with me, no one else, right? Me in the flesh, right? Three, I'm also the tech guy, right? I put tech guy because it's virtual classes, it's online classes, and we know that sometimes technology acts up at times. And but I know it is indeed workable. I do all the technical aspects behind the scenes as well. And fourthly, I am the director as well. Yeah. So this is the team that you'll be interacting with based on these rules. So we get into the next segment, guys, which is website navigation. So before we get into that, I want you guys to not really answer this question now, but think about it and probably give a response by the end of the workshop. What are you committed to take on action on and by when? Right, this is another personal question for you guys. Don't need to answer it now. Take some time to think about it. If you have it already, if you know what you want to do, you can put it in the chat. But in order to do that, guys, once you committed to take an action on one thing and by when, that will help you to make better, smarter, and faster decisions in mathematics. Right, so with that being said, let me just do, this has never, I've done a workshop before, right? At least two persons what I've known. But this is a new segment, right? Because this is actually a website I want to navigate here. So I will go a little off course, right? But I want to show you guys the website. So you guys get a sneak peek of what it looks like. All right, so let me just pull it up. All right, is everyone seeing the screen? Everyone seeing the screen, right? And it's up. I know sometimes there could be delays. All right, well, at least the screen is up, right? Okay. Right, so this is the website here, guys. So yes, well, at least good news. So at least one of the parents knows, well, this didn't really exist before. But yeah, website is officially up, guys. So let's just do a quick navigation. You guys, I could also send the link after so you can go through on your own. Right, so the website is, you have the home page here, right? So you click on home, well, you'll be on home by default. So what you could do here, guys, one, you can book an appointment. Same thing we talked about, the consultation call, right? So you could select any dates and any times. I think based on a setting, it's not set on weekends, so you can't really book me on a weekends or Saturday, Sunday. Weekends are a bit tight, right? But I am available, well, based on the times every day, Monday through Friday. So you guys could look for an appropriate date and time and book me, right? This is just, a brand that you can trust, right? Just a flyer. This is the registration process, guys, for the classes, right? So you come here. So you just come, click here, right? This takes you to this page. So this is essentially, well, this is a robot in the background, right? So it'll just ask you some personal questions like what is your full name? What is your email address? What is your contact number? Trust me, it's your information, personal data. It's confidential. It's not shared with anyone. This is just for me to keep track of who is it registers for classes, and just to find more, find information about you, right? But the more that I know, at least it's the more information I know about you and your child, potential student, is the greater I would be able to help them. In other words, right? So that's what that does. I have some customer testimonials and reviews. You guys, this is not forced, right? So a lot of parents did some really great reviews and stuff for me because I've taught 2 sets of groups prior, right? And one of the parents is actually here who will be continuing with me, and he himself and well too, right, could really attest to it. These reviews are here, guys. You guys could, take it up on your own time and look at it. There are a lot of them, right? And you see the reviews are long. I have the location here. Well, the location is not really relevant because it's online. What else you could go to? You could go to the About Us page. So if you navigate to About Us, well, it says that what the business is. So it's a private online tutoring academy business, an educational consultant in providing the service of teaching maths. Primary school students who are either in standard 3, 4, 5 preparing for essay mathematics examinations, right? The About Us, where you get to find out the services that I offer. Well, you guys are literally in one of them, right? You guys are in the workshop session, that's one. I offer that. I offer the online classes, right? We spoke about it a lot in depth in previously, earlier in the workshop, and the office hour sessions. Well, we see you have the same thing, meet the team, which is me here again. And we have a documentation, which I call the business story. So you would see of how essentially this, business came to life, right? But what was the reason and the purpose, behind it in the first place, right? And what's its goals and intentions? You can see it in the business story documentation here, right? I also have something that's really fun, which is called the Student Hub portal, right? So you click on the Student Hub. So this Student Hub, guys, is the area where students can access all their work materials and online resources, meaning the lecture notes, tutorial videos, so that they can study on their own, right? Currently, there are no online resources to access because there's nothing uploaded in the website as yet, right? The lecture notes are the actual notes after the class. They will be uploaded here. Before I used to send it to the students, I would send it to you directly as well, and it will be uploaded here, and there will be videos. So this is broken up into 3 different segments, well, lecture notes and tutorial videos, and we have something called create an account. So in order to access the resources, the online resources, guys, you need to create an account, right? So you click on register here. You don't have to do it now, just showing you. So it will take you to another page, which is a robot in the background, right? So it will basically ask you, are you registering as a parent or are you registering as a student, right? So if your child is registering, they click register as a student. If you are registering on behalf of your child and you want to take control of it, by all means, you could go ahead, register as a parent. You just basically put in a username and a password, right? And it's safe. It's safe and no one's gonna get it, right? So that you can access your Student Hub portal. And the final thing, you have the contact us page. Well, normally you'll find all the social media information here, mobile number, email address. This is really fun, guys. I want to show you guys thing quickly. I call it a virtual assistant, right? This is also a robot as well. Anyone want to do a quick role play? I don't want to do the role play because that would seem lame. So let's say if you have any questions that you want to, that you want to ask about things that you're not sure, you come to this virtual assistant, right? Anyone want to do a role play? Anybody? A quick role play. It's a really short thing.
I mean, I'll do it.
All right, Salim. All right, so let's go. Right, so the virtual assistant. So what's your name? So Salim, right? So you would put Salim.
Right.
All right, so we have Loki here, right?
Yeah, I seen Loki there.
Right, so it says, nice to meet you, Salim. How can I help you, Salim? What's your question, query, or concern about? Right, so we have services, we have cost. Where we would like to help it with, Salim.
I would like to consider the cost.
All right, cost, right? So you click on cost. Right, so it responds, so it says, hi, Salim, cost of classes, well, 500 TT per month. Note that payment must be conducted at the beginning, right? So this, guys, it's anything you need help with, well, that's the course at least. The virtual assistant, it responds automatically. So you don't have to worry about any delays or anything. You get everything right here, right? And then while you have here Loki, he's smiling. He's glad to help you. Right? So it says, happy to be of service to your request, Salim. Right? Is there anything else I can assist you with today? Let's now just go
Yes.
more. All right, yes. So it happens again. You had to put your name again because it's a different question. Right? So let's say, which one you want to go with? We do one more.
Okay, let's do services.
Services, all right. So if let's say you want to find out about the services more, sure, no problem. Click on services. Right? So it comes up here. So the robot spells it. So it says, hi Salim, sure. Here are the list of services we offer. 1, the mathematics workshop. Well, you guys are here at the workshop. 2, the online classes. And 3, office hour sessions, right? And you can see the explanations and the reasons why these services are in place. Is that cool, guys? And then let's say, that is it you want? Let's say no. You're good. Right? Look, he gives you a thumbs up. Bye, Salim. Have a great day. Guys, so you guys have a live virtual assistant to help you guys. So you guys need any assistance with anything, you guys could also come here as well on the website, right? And well, it's also on Instagram, Facebook, on Google as well, on WhatsApp, and on YouTube. Right, so that's basically it for website navigation. And we're almost done. Let me just head over to the presentation one more time. Okay. All right. So yeah, guys. So you guys got, well, a little in-depth analysis of the website, guys. And this has been a new implementation, guys. So the website was recently launched. So that has been a big win for the company. So yeah. And it's for you guys as well. Not really for me, it's for you. So we get into this segment, guys. I call it the most, the many, and the few. Essentially what this is, there are three types of persons or individuals, I would say, when it comes to virtual teaching. And I understand, guys, it's okay. It's not to bash any of the 2 types or the 3 types, right? So we have one, the most. One, they neglect virtual teaching and they continue with traditional teaching, right? And you know what? It's a choice, it's a personal choice, and that's okay. We have the many, which is 2. They are contemplating about virtual tutoring classes and teaching, and they would eventually decide to pursue it, but they might change their minds fast, or they might not commit or drop out of classes quickly, right? That's another group. And we also have the few, the third one. They decide on virtual tutoring classes and they would commit to it, right, from beginning to end of the teaching cohort duration. And I have 2 parents here, guys, that I could attest it that they have stuck it out with me, guys. I had sometimes I could tell you that, yeah, it was a lot. They could tell you themselves, right? They're here. I'm not going to say who it is, right? But they have been the few guys, and they stuck it out with me, right? Because, they saw that, their son and grandson needed it. And, I was willing to reciprocate, right? They were the few guys. I know it's the good news that you two could be number 3. You guys could be the few as well, right? You guys don't need to be the point 1 and point 2. So we talk about basically, we spoke about process earlier on the first slide, right? So this is, I call it the bundle service package, right? So you know how I mentioned process sets you free, right? Well, there's also a process, right, in terms of how things operate as well. So here's the first step in the process. We have the consultation call, which is the 30-minute direct private Zoom or WhatsApp appointment or consultation, which is to address your needs as a parent and for me to address it, of course, and address the needs of your child, son or daughter. That's one. The second step in the process is the workshop. Well, you guys are literally here at the workshop, right? It's an informative session packed with key insights, right? So that they can help you succeed at mathematics with a Q&A at the end. And then 3, we have the class sessions. Typically, the classes, how it works is a 6 months teaching cohort period. So for example, let's say June, right? For example, let's say classes starting on 1st of June, classes will go from June to December. That's a 6 months and it will end there. However, it's not something that is fixed. Based on your request, right, of you as a parent, I can continue, but generally I have it at 6 months, right? But if you want to continue and go up cross that 6 months, right, and expand on however long, that's okay. I just have it there as a minimum, right? Something to start with, right? The class sessions where you guys know it's personalized, tailored teaching. I address the students' weak areas first, right? I don't delve into past paper questions right away, right? I address the weak areas first, right? Because it doesn't make sense to address past paper questions and students don't understand certain topics, right? Because there will be a lot of gaps and moving forward, it will make it difficult for them, right? I have in-class practice. I have homework. I have challenges and mental games, which you guys heard about. I have past paper questions. I have lecture notes, which you guys can access through the Student Hub portal. I have video tutorials from the Hub portal. And I have frequent updates, right? Which is on a weekly basis or a monthly basis based on your request, right? Which is the KPI metric system. And finally, I have office hours, right? Office hours are, well, one-on-one, 60 to 90-minute sessions. It's assistant type sessions, right? Where I can, interface with a student. If they have any personal questions that they have for me that they're probably shy and afraid to address it in class with the group, with the crowd. They want to talk to me privately and directly. That's fine, that's normal. Or even if they are probably slowing down in class and they need to get up to speed, that's the reason for the office hours in a nutshell, right? Just the only thing with the office hours, it's not at the beginning, it's coming more to the end of the cohort, right? So it's based on your requests. And so that's something that is not really structured, but the consultation is structured, the classes are structured, meaning with dates and times. The office hours are a little bit spontaneous because it's coming at the end, right? But it's based on your requests. So it's something that can happen or cannot happen, right? And yes, well, the bundle service package, I didn't put cost, but the investment, guys, it's 500 TT per month. That's the cost of the classes here, guys, because I know you guys would want to know. But I'm here to say, guys, SEAMathsTutor, it's a brand that you can trust, right? I'm not saying this to toot any horn or anything. Probably 2 persons could really attest it that they say, yeah, this is a brand that I can trust, right? And trust is an important thing, guys. I think no one will want to get their trust broken, right? Not even me, right? I'm saying, right? I know that's something you guys would value a lot, right? But this is a brand you can trust, guys. And this is a little picture here of Loki here again. I guess you guys probably seen him a lot. He's kind of like one of my favorite Marvel characters. I know he was a villain previously, but he is not anymore. For persons who don't know what went on, you need to check out this story, right? There's a TV show as well behind it. But guys, look what Loki did in that series in the end. He was serving people for all time, always, meaning forever. In whatever way that he had to do, I'm not going to spoil it. You guys need to see the show, right? But that's what I would be doing. I would be doing that, guys. I would be serving you for all time, always. Now, I don't mean it literally all time, always, but what I mean from beginning to end, I would be serving you, literally. And I know that there are 2 persons who could greatly attest to that. right? I'm not tooting a horn, guys. I'm being serious here. So guys, that is it. We have come to the end of the mathematics workshop. Well, I have all the social media, WhatsApp, Instagram, email, Facebook, and we come to the end of the presentation and ultimately the workshop, guys. So guys, this is your turn. I think as I spoke a lot, I spoke enough. I'll say this off the bat, I'm not an extroverted person. I am an introverted person. I'm literally, I am, right? It's just a workshop requires you to speak, right? So yeah, that's something I just have to speak, right? But it's your turn, guys. Based on everything we covered, do you have any questions for me?
You're doing very well, Christian, as an introverted person.
Yeah, yeah, introverted. Yeah. No, I am. Yeah, I mean, I learned a little thing into Toastmasters, but I think that
Yes.
it won't change who I am.
Yes, that's all right. You're doing well.
And Tash said excellent. Right, Nish said great presentation. All right, thanks for the comment, both Tash and Nish, appreciated. Right, Gavin sent the clap. Right, anyone has any questions, guys? Questions, comments? The floor is yours. Well, we have 8 minutes, so yeah. Anything you guys wanna ask? Anything any presentation you wasn't clear, you wasn't sure on, you wanna go back to it? You had a mental note there, you're stuck up in something you want to address. Pollyanna says, I feel like I will love math now. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, that's good, Pollyanna. Well, if the workshop helped you to love maths more, that's a big win. But trust me, a lot of people hate maths still up to this day, right? Because they never experienced the workshop, right? So if the workshop did that for you, that's really good. Pollyanna says, great work, so very clear, patient. Right, thanks. Uma said, I like the strategies. Yeah, some of the strategies. I think some of the strategies are, some of the things, it's some of the strategies exist, or majority of them exist. But for the ones that not really heard of, I call them the unsung heroes. They exist, but they're not spoken of, right? But I spoke about it, right? Anybody have any questions though? A lot of comments, but no questions. You guys can send on the chat, or you guys can feel free and unmute. No questions, guys. Yeah, and if you believe this, workshop was really great, you guys could probably comment that on the chat. I enjoyed the workshop, and state one thing that you learned, guys, and one thing that you will implement moving forward. Right? Because remember, information alone is not enough to create change. Right? But yes, I believe for Pollyanna, she said she will start to love math from now. Right? And that's good. Right? Right. So you were someone who hated math, and that's okay, but post workshop, you love math now. Right? Any takeaways, guys? If not questions, takeaways. Well, what are you going to do differently from now moving forward?
One question, Christian, I have.
Yeah,
I think maybe I should put in the chat. How intense would you, in terms of helping the students develop the process, reading the questions and underlining and developing the problem statement? Would that be an integral part, a big part of your tutoring?
yeah, all right, yeah, good question. Yeah, that will be an integral part of the tutoring. That's something that it will be pretty basic, at least for me, because in terms of how mathematics is as a subject, and I believe that having a process set in place, that will be a key element to help students succeed, right? And yes, I will indeed approach the teaching in that way. I would approach the process repeatedly, meaning for every class. However, if I approach it in a way that is students are not really grasping the process, I would try to reframe the process in a different way so that they can get to understand it. But yeah, I would, that process would be integral. It will play a huge part. Yeah. Hope it answers it first.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Pauline says, so what made you like math? Just a quick question. What made me like math? Oh, okay, good question. Yeah, that booster. What made me like math, boy? I think for me, I would say when I was small and young growing up, I was always interested in like Legos. I was interested in what else? I was interested in space, so a lot of things that very deep existential type things. It may sound a bit irrelevant, but I'll get to the math part soon. But yeah, those space type things, not getting into astronomy, not that type of level, but just very curious by nature as a child. Always had that in me. And from that, my love of math really stemmed from there, or it transitioned from that into mathematics, because I know those things, it requires mathematics, right? Because, Legos, for example, Legos, when you're playing with that, you're building stuff, right? So that kind of links to construction and civil engineering, right? So which involves a lot of mathematics. So that's a point there. Being in space, like astronauts as well, you need to be able to have a lot of advanced mathematics, right? But you need to start at the fundamentals, of course, and having that love for space and just like NASA and the whole different galaxies and stars, all those stuff. My love of math stemmed from there. And even that's one example. Second example, my love of math stemmed from, I would say, growing up in like traditional educational system, at least for me, the way how maths was taught, it did not resonate a lot with me, or it didn't hit me hard enough to say, that I didn't like math that much, right? But what made me like it even more is that when I personally decided to, you know what, I'm gonna see if I could, figure this out on my own or look for a different way that will be more exciting, right? In mathematics. And that's what essentially I did, right? So I kind of learned to teach myself in a bit. Of course, I got help along the way, in certain areas. But I taught myself in a way that would be fun and resonate with me. And I realized that maths is really fun, right? It's just the way I was being taught, at least in my time, it wasn't that fun. It didn't come across as that way, right? But when I did my personal study, it became fun. So I hope that answers your question. Anybody else though? Pollyanna asks, Irma asks, Gavin, if you have anything, Salim, if you have any, Miss Ramsurup, if you have, oh my God, something my nephew told me he's started with Legos. Thanks. All right, well, you see, yeah, that's a correction there. Yeah, right. Um, all right, so I guess we have no other questions then. Willing to take a little more, but hope if everyone is okay. All good? All right. Miss Ramsup, you have any questions? Tash, you have any? Natasha? Don't want to leave and you guys leave and you guys then have nothing to address. All good? Okay. Nish, what about you, Miss Ramsup? You good? Okay, I guess the silence is the answer. All right, you're good. Okay. All right. So guys, last thing. If you guys believe that this workshop was great, say it was great. If you guys believe the workshop sucked, and it was a complete waste of time, it didn't make any sense, say it, guys. You guys can go ahead and say it. Right? Very interesting and enjoyable. You love it. All right, cool. Excellent, great. Yeah. Right. Reason I asked for that, guys. This was free, guys, but it literally costed you your time, and I saw that everyone came at a probably relatively the same time, and you guys stuck it out to the end. So you guys committed, right? So you guys made this workshop a success. You committed to take an action. You guys participated in the chat. You guys unmuted, right? You guys eliminated the words I know from your vocabulary throughout the entire session. The final step, guys, is for you guys to implement, right? I can't do that for you guys. You guys could do it. Have to do it in whatever way, right? All right, guys. So if you don't have any more questions or no comments, I believe that will be it. So the mathematics workshop has come to an end. So thank you guys for coming out, and hope it has indeed helped you. And yeah, hope it'll help you as a parent and an individual, and the students, which is your kids, sons and daughters. Hope you learned something, to go forward. All right, everyone. So take care.
Take care. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye bye.
Good night, everyone.